Okay, hello, greetings and welcome. All right, so part the horse's mane. Here we have a top position on the left hand. If we're on a double inside position, we're going to end up folding down. But for now, I just want you to put your left hand on top, the right hand into here, and just soften down and touch your partner's base. So I just touch in. He's always softening and finding my base. So there's a big U-shaped root-to-root connection from his feet to my feet are connected. So you really want to feel how a person's grounding themselves with gravity into the ground, and through that you can separate the menastral matrix to cut the root of balance. So from here, I project towards the center line, and he just redirects the energy off to the side. What this does is it gives me, I start initiating a shoulder stroke, and the shoulder stroke is there just to entice my position for the part the horse's mane. So when I get this connection from here, I want to connect it to this hand and pluck on the connection point. And then when this hand touches underneath his rib cage, let's come around this side so you can see that. When this hand touches underneath his rib cage, I go anywhere from the hip area, middle, under the rib, or all the way up in the armpit. I want to connect a loop. So I'm pulling the stretch open on his body, and as I pull, it brings the center up. Now all I've got to do is drop my hip, stretch my spine, and come underneath what I feel to catch his center. So this force is arising. He can't do much about it because of the stretch from here to here. It's a fixed distance. So, and the pressure he's giving me here creates tension for me to catch him. And even if this arm didn't exist and I just had this line here, I've still got him, but not as much of him. If that's touching, I've got more of a center, just a little bit less pressure. There we go. Okay, so just enough pressure on all the contact points to feel. Now I touch, as I'm entering in, I go towards the back of his heel, down the back of his body to bring his center balance back. When someone pushes you back, the natural thing you're going to do is drop down, heels, and then move forward to reground. And you lead that as you take your partner through that pattern. So I'm going behind, down to the heel, I pull them onto the toes, and once I've loaded the toes, then I start bringing this up. So it goes down through a bowl curve. Drop the marble this side, it goes down, and then comes up. If I keep them down too long, now the chi and the balance is stagnating. I have to start bringing him up to get once his toes have loaded. So look at your partner's toes. Okay, there's the toe. It's gripping the ground. There's the edge of the balance. Now I can bring it up and the timing's correct. If I bring him down at the wrong time or bring him up at the wrong time, he's going to escape and get out of it. So it's following the natural rhythm of person's balance, how they unconsciously step, and how their energy moves when you're running these patterns. Once you have the mechanical line of dropping through the facial web, stretching through your partner's body, dropping your hips, stretching your spine, mechanically putting your body underneath his body as you lift your partner up, from there we go into the feeling of vitality. We vital breathe. So as we stretch in and vital breathe, the energy gets lighter, your partner becomes more buoyant and bouncy, and you'll find their balance will lift that little bit easier than before. Where before the balance was dependent on the line of the stretch and rocking through the curve and so forth, the moment you put the vital energy in and your partner starts to become buoyant inside the vital energy, you increase your options. So once I've got them here, I can put a bit of ward-off energy out, or I can do a bit more roll-back energy, or I can do the diagonal flying part horse's mane techniques, and your options open with more inflation of the vital energy in your partner. And from there, you track how they respond to that buoyancy. When you inflate them with energy, how does their balance move? And you track that and you move in accordance with it. Okay, so here we're moving through, and there's a timing of going behind the person, down their heel, through the toes, and lifting them. This pattern of movement, very, very, very important. Now we start putting this into more martial drills. Take a step back for me, where I'm throwing a punch and I'm bridging, and he's doing a parry that brings me across and down, and I follow that to get into this position. I have to be very careful of this hand. So what I'm doing is I'm projecting my elbow towards that hand so that it can't hit me, so that when I'm in position to do my technique, that this doesn't just shoot off into my face. So when I touch there, if he tries to hit me with this hand, I'm sticking to it. And my stickiness to it is down to his base, and I sink him into my structure as I'm doing this, so that I don't get punched in the face by this hand. Now if I did it incorrectly, I'd let it go. Now it's free, he can hit me. But if I'm doing correctly, I'm on him, I'm floating him through it, and now I can execute the technique safely without this hitting me. There's a stickiness from here to his foot. And then I sink underneath that, and what that does is it occupies and makes him be inside of my stick. Now I'm putting the jin more out than in. Now if I do the same, and I start doing more sinking inwards into my space, the effect on how he floats and hops changes. I prefer the outward forces. I don't really like sinking too much. Sinking doesn't destroy an opponent. Sinking has a lot of compassion inside of it. And if you're a fighter, intercepting energy destroys an opponent, destroys a fight very fast. So the moment you with the energy in, you take control and you catch your partner and run with it. That's my Wing Chun background coming out. A pure Tai Chi background is touch, sink, and your sinking takes your partner's base. And if the hand's touching here, you just sink and just sink into it. And that sinking pulls them through you, which separates the mental astral matrix and gives you balance. And you can play with these different types of sinking effects. And that's more in line with traditional Tai Chi, when you sink inside your body, versus being a little bit more out, intercepting. Intercepting reduces the chance of them being able to hit you because the energy is so forward and forceful. And if, let's say, he moves his hands forward and backwards towards me, if I receive and then sink, there's this little bit of a time lag inside of sinking. But intercept, there's no time lag. The moment he intends, I'm already intercepting and putting my energy inside him, versus, okay, now I'm sinking and using that inward release to create an outward counterforce. It's not as quick. So this part of the horse's mane tends to be more of a magnetic outward force. So play with the variations. We'll go into a lot more detail on this on the Vimeo channel. If you want to break down of each of the movements, I'll slowly post breakdown, martial application, how it's applied in sparring and so forth on that channel, and just introduce things here on YouTube. Okay, thanks for your time, thank you, and see you on the next video.